Okay, well, you mentioned hours a couple of different times, and so I know you had heard stories going into this. I've heard lots of stories from people about it, just how incredibly intense this job is, and seems like it's something that is very much for some people, and it is very much not for other people. So can you talk a little bit about kind of the workload, the pressure, the what this does to you if you choose this path?
Yes, absolutely. And this is probably one of the most important points that we're probably going to hit today, because a lot of people, and probably me included, you think about the money that comes with investment banking, and you think on on an annual macro level scale, wow, that's good money coming out of school and starting your career path off well. But then when you divide that number by the hours you work a week, that number starts to drop in impressiveness very, very quickly. And really, I'm not exactly sure all the stories that you've heard, so I'll just tell my own. I knew going in that the hours were going to be a lot. I had done a lot of calls with a lot of individuals. They had told me their horror stories and kind of things that they had happened. But a 90 to 100-hour week is not the exception. That's the average. That's kind of the expectation in banking, is that you are working these hours. And that's the reason why you're on salary and not hourly, right? Because if it was hourly pay, you'd be willing to work 100 hours a week because you would flex up. But so that is the expectation here. So you don't really get any sort of help from your MD or kind of sympathy. Really, it's more of this is expected of you. At one point, I did this, so I know what it's like. But you signed up for the job, and that's what you do. To kind of harp on why it's a fit for some and not for others. You think you know what a 100-hour week is until you work it, right? And then when you string a couple of weeks together where you're doing 100 plus, you really start to realize what this does to your mental and physical health. As a personal story, you get expensive dinners in banking when you're in the office, not when you're working from home. And it's really easy to just start ordering out the most fattening, salty, delicious foods you can, because you're not paying for it. You're expensing it to the company, and you're working till 1 or 2 in the morning. Well, when you do that over and over and over again, obviously you start experiencing the negative aspects of the free dinner. And so stuff like that starts wearing on you. And when I was still in the office, I started experiencing just extreme fatigue and going through that. Now, on the flip side of this, the reason, I don't want to make it all sound like doom and gloom, so there's great experience to this. The reason it is great for some people is that some people are willing to sacrifice because it does truly get you ahead of where other people are this far in their career.
Yeah.
So the way I always look at a day, which is kind of unique, there's a lot of people that talk about this, is that most people set out and they look at their day in a 24-hour span. And so whatever they have to get done in 24 hours, they'll do it in 24 hours. But what we do in banking, really, in my mind, is that we're breaking up our day into 6-hour segments. And we're compressing 24 hours of work in these 6-hour segments that we're packing in, 6, 6, 6, 6. And because of that, we're getting double, triple the experience that people are getting in these 40-hour workweek jobs.
Yeah.
So you truly do get to learn and have experience with these C-suite individuals that you would not get in other jobs.
Yeah.
So when you go into this job and you have to really think about what you want out of it, I always say go after what you really want. If the path to what you want goes through banking, it's worth it, but you have to be willing to sacrifice. You have to be willing to sacrifice, social aspects. I haven't taken a vacation since I started. I've been here 19 months. I've had 2 days off, one Christmas and one Thanksgiving since I started. Every other day I've worked. And so, knowing that kind of intensity, it shies some people away from sacrificing kind of who they are to get what they want.
Yeah. 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 Well, thanks for sharing that, because I think assessing the cost on the front end is, I mean, that's huge, right? It is. It's absolutely huge. Okay. One other thing that I wanted to get at today. I don't know how many of my students now know you, but I just want to give a little bit of background. So Parker, uh, I'll just say you were one of the best students I've ever had. You were right on it in class. Really enjoyed teaching you. I wrote letters for you. You had, I think, more accolades than just about anybody could have coming out of UT. I think I know you were the finance department top grad, and I believe you won the Haslam College of Business top grad that year. Student athlete, you won some awards with the SEC, and so with that in mind, I think that the assumption is, you set out to be an investment banker. One might think that people were just beating your door down to talk to you. I mean, you seem like the kind of person that everyone would want from day one. And so, is that how it went?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And this is one of the parts where rubber hits the road and you really start realizing what the job market it's actually like. Coming out of UT, thanks for the kind words. I really do appreciate that. All of what you said is true to an extent. I had all these accolades. There was a lot of stuff I didn't have as well. Being a student athlete, I didn't have an internship, and I didn't really realize at the time how important this was to the individuals that you really need to impress. And so, to give you a kind of a textbook case study, when I was going out my senior year to the job market, going into recruiting, I was just like you just said. Oh, well, I'm fine. I've done well enough in school. I'm fine. Like I've got it, right? I got no interview requests. I submitted my resume, submitted cover letters, nothing. Didn't understand why I didn't really get it. And it really wasn't until I got on the other side, past Vanderbilt, actually gotten my job when my bosses who hired me told me why I didn't get an interview with them, when I was staying at UT, because I applied to Raymond James while I was at UT, didn't get a phone screen when I went to Vanderbilt. I got that phone screen. And really the reason is that I didn't make it easy enough on the hiring people who were at the time my vice president and my managing director. I didn't make it easy enough on them to just rubber stamp my application. And the reason for that was I had no internship experience. I hadn't networked enough with the individuals inside the bank for them to know that, hey, an internship doesn't really matter. I had proven to them that I could play football and do school at the same time. You know what you don't do any of in investment banking? You don't play football and you don't go to school. So it doesn't really prove to them that you know how to do the job. And so what I did after taking that advice and understanding really what that was, is that when I went to Vanderbilt, the summer before I got an internship in equity research. And then while I was in school, I got another internship in investment banking, actually in healthcare services. So the next time I applied, I said, look, I promise you I can do this job. I've now proven it because I'm doing that exact job right now. And getting someone else to basically vouch for me that I could do this job instead of them just writing a blank check was a big bonus in recruiting processes going forward. Super important, as I think you said the majority of your class is juniors, that as you think about entering the job market, most of these banks fill up their analyst class from their interns that are going into their senior year. So for example, Raymond James, we just hired both our interns, and that's our full class for, I guess, 2021. So our 2021 class was filled up of only interns. No other hiring process was done. So it stresses the importance of getting that internship in banking if this is what you want to do. You have to go out and get an internship. And even if it's not a place that you want to work, for your full-time offer, getting an internship and putting it on your resume that you've done banking is kind of the key to start unlocking all these interview requests that you're going to get. There's just a huge benefit for an MD or a VP to read your resume and it says investment banking or private equity internship. I mean, it's unbelievable how quickly they just ball it up and throw it away if you don't have that. Very qualified candidates, because everybody here has a 3.7 or higher. Yeah. Everyone, right?
Yeah. So, so let's say I've got a student who is very bright, very hardworking, but it's their first semester of finance, and at this point, okay, so they know what the sell side and the buy side are. They can calculate the present value of an annuity, and they can open up an Excel spreadsheet. What do you tell them? What should they do if they want to go this route?
Start reading. And I am a huge believer in reading. I love to read. I stay up even when, after late nights of working. There's always something to read. And if you don't like to read, there's probably a YouTube video on it, right? And so really what I did as I started networking and trying to figure out how to best crack in, and I guess the kind of cliche term is break into banking, how to do that was, one, getting on discussions with people who are like me now, but people who had already done it. So you're getting on phone calls, you're reading about people who had already done it, you're watching YouTube videos of people that have done it. And what you're starting to do is when you're talking to these people, you're picking up the terminology, you're picking up the lingo, you're understanding the process better. And once you have a full scope of that, when you start interviewing, you're using those same lingo, those same, the same buzzwords, the same terminology to really understand how the process works. There's a list of, Wall Street Oasis, people like that have lists of 400 technical questions. Memorize all of them. You memorize all 400 of those technical questions, I promise you, people are going to be impressed when you can start rattling off the answers. Because it's crazy how many of those questions are actually asked in an interview. You would think, oh, there's no way they're going to ask these canned questions. Like, everybody's read these. Like, sure, they're going to ask something different. No, they ask them because it's easy. You want to make it as easy as possible for someone to say, this guy's good at his job. And so you start off with a base level knowledge, which is great from UT, and then you start expanding on that by going outside your current network and networking with individuals who have already done what you're wanting to do.
All right. Well, anybody, can I send people your way? Is it okay for students to reach out to you? Since you've got a lot of free time, I know, so you can just chit chat anytime. If I have a student that wants to contact you, what should they do?
Absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn. Is always the easiest way to reach me. My name's Parker Henry on LinkedIn, right? Very, very simple. You just write a little note on the send request. It says, hey, I'm, from the University of Tennessee. I want to speak with you. Boom. I'm very apt to respond. I love talking with UT kids. When I was at UT, I didn't think that there was a lot of people that wanted to do or had done what I'm doing right now. And so it was very hard for me to just kind of reach out cold to someone that went to, Harvard or Yale that was, in this program and doing this. Like, I didn't really feel a connection. Didn't think they'd answer me. One, you'd be surprised at how many will. But two, UT is beginning to grow a good alumni base of former bankers, and hopefully I will, help build that and keep a good reputation there. But I'm always happy to help out. LinkedIn's a great way, and I'm sure that you've got my contact information as well. If someone doesn't feel comfortable doing that, feel free to connect us over email, and I'll do that as well.
Absolutely. Well, Parker, thank you so much for your time. What you're doing, one, you represent the university well, but two, thank you for caring enough about our students to think of them and to want to give back in this way. So thanks for joining us today. And I'll probably try to have you on again as we move forward. But again, thanks, Parker.